My name is Mark Dennings. I'm Chief Deputy District Attorney in San Joaquin County, um, and I currently supervise all vertical operations. Um, and that includes juvenile as one of those vertical operations. I started in the DA's office, I think, if memory serves me correctly, back in 2004. Um, I've done misdemeanors, general felonies, uh, gangs. I supervised gangs, juvenile gangs, and then I supervised all of juvenile crimes, and then promoted to chief deputy. One of the operations I still supervise is juvenile crimes.
So how many years of experience do you have all told, particularly when it comes to juvenile crimes?
Um, all told, just all, I've been there as an intern, so I've been there over 20 years.
Hmm.
Um, Juvenile crimes, if we just go back to uh, criminal street gangs and gangs, um, I'd say almost half my time has been in some way dealing with juveniles and young adults.
Hmm. Yeah, we won't get into too much into the particulars of this case, but what we do know is that a 16-year-old student from Lincoln Unified was apprehended or arrested, but it was found that those threats were unsubstantiated. So just speaking more generally, at this time, we really have no idea how many students have made threats or shared posts like this. How exactly is that investigated, and how is it determined which students need to be held accountable?
So a lot of this comes in through social media and through the students have their own um, groups of social media, whether it's through school or just through friendships. And a lot of that information comes from other students um, who read something in the social media and are in fear, and they report it to adults, and that's followed up upon. A vast majority that's how it gets to the authorities. Um, how it's followed up upon, it depends on the agency. It depends on um, what they're going to do, but most likely they're going to go out there and talk to the minor and talk to the parents and uh, see what's really going on. They're going to try and talk to the reporting person to see how the threat came about. See if it was kind of in a joking manner, just a bad joke. Um, See if it's a call out for help. Um, there's so many different paths it can take.
Well, and there must be shades of gray, right? Because
No, yeah, it's a lot of gray. Um, it's very difficult to say something is just black and white. Um, so
can
a
you
lot of
expand
that
on
is
that? Because that when we're talking about shades of gray, I guess what we're really talking about here is motivation, right?
sure. Um, you will have kids who are joking around who think it's just funny. You will have kids who um, are just trying to get out of a day of school and get the school to shut down for one reason or another. Um, Maybe there's a big test coming up, or maybe they have a test and they don't want to take that test. Um, Back in the day, it used to be pull the fire alarm. Um, or maybe it's someone who is actually crying out for help in one way or another. And God forbid, but maybe it is that person who is serious about it.
When a teenager is arrested for something like this, what typically happens? Do they get prosecuted, or are they released to their parents? What's the most typical course of action
Well,
or course of events?
the answer to your question is basically yes. It can all occur. Again, an evaluation of what was done or said has to be done at all levels. Um, so that person can be arrested, that person can be cited out, which means um, they're basically given a ticket. You have to go to court on this day at this time, or the case can be referred to the DA's office and allow the DA's office to make a decision. The officers can choose to see it not as a threat and to do further investigation. They have that ability as well. So there's a lot of different paths it can take. Um, and it just depends on, what that investigation concludes.
If we were to do our version of scared straight here, what would be the most extreme case that you can envision, the most extreme charges that could come about from someone sharing along one of these posts?
Officers arrive to the child's home. They have a conversation with the parents, the child. Um, at that point, the child is taken into custody. He will be handcuffed. He will be placed in the back of a police car, and he will be taken to juvenile hall where he'll be processed during intake. Um, he'll be strip searched. His clothes will be taken. He'll be showered. Um, the paperwork will begin, and usually within 48 hours or less, um, that individual will be in front of a juvenile judge, and they'll be arraigned. It's called a detention hearing. Um, they'll be assigned an attorney. The prosecutor will be there. The judge will be there. A probation officer will be there, and um, a determination will be made as to whether that minor will go home or remain in custody.
It's a
And that's
very,
how the case begins.
yeah, that's a very vivid picture. Makes, it kind of gives me goosebumps thinking of, that's something, a kid would have to go through. But again, these are in the case of a very serious allegation or a very serious crime. So, is there is there anything that we can do to keep this stuff from happening again?
Uh, the best thing, let me state that most of the time it's a bad joke. It's trying to get attention from the group of kids. It's trying to be cool. Um, most of the time, that's the path it takes. And the problem is many teenagers or younger minors don't see what the possible end result can be. You know, every school, every law enforcement agency has to act upon a potential threat. So even if the child thinks it's funny or is trying to be funny, if someone reports it, a police investigation will, be involved. Um, there is a serious component to it down the road, and a determination will be made as to whether, someone was just joking or not.
Do you suspect that there will be additional arrests, additional charges to come out of the wave of threats that we have already seen so far?
Um, this is unfortunately not the first time. Um, we do see an increase in school threats during the beginning of the school year. And we act upon each and every one. So, it's unfortunate. It truly is unfortunate. Um, but, you know, you just got to let the parents know that we're out there, law enforcement's out there, and we will investigate each and every threat to determine whether it's a credible threat, a joke, it doesn't matter. It will be investigated. And at the top of the list is the safety of all the kids. That's the whole purpose of the juvenile criminal system, to act in in the best interest of the kids. So, and we're always going to do that investigation.
And if you'll allow me here, maybe kind of a personal question. Do you have children yourself? And what kind of conversations do you have with kids when it comes to how they interact with these sorts of things online?
Yeah. Because of my job, I'm in the position to tell him this is what's going to happen. You know, if he has a friend or a school classmate, this is what's going to happen to this person. Um, it's not something you want to be involved in. It's not something that he's going to want to be involved in at the end of the day. Um, he made a mistake. He or she made a mistake. Did they think it was funny at the time? Maybe so. But it's not a funny thing, and they're going to end up seeing the serious side of it, and how serious it can be. It'll be a hard learning lesson for them. So you don't want to go through that. Learn from it now. So that's what I tell my son. Um, yeah, again, I have the luxury of telling him, the good and the bad.
And how old is your son?
My son's 13.
Oh yeah, he's right. He's coming right into it.
Yeah, yeah, and um, it's not the first time he's heard me talk about these cases. Um, it I've taken him to work with me to see it, um, to know that it's out there, and I want him to be able to understand. You know, there's good people and there's bad people and there's people in between. You got to make some tough decisions sometimes, and you know, be you got to the decisions you make can affect your life. So even at that age.
Just maybe one other thought. You said that you've been doing this for 20 years. Uh, what's the trend line in terms of these kinds of threats and the ages of the kids involved? What have you seen? How have you seen this develop in your career?
Sadly, these kind of threats have increased. Um, there is some predictability as to, as I said, the beginning of the school year. Um, you see it. You see a lot of it with people are minors going into junior high and going into their freshman year. Those high stress level times in someone's education, um, where they're changing schools and it's a new and different environment, um, and it's a lot of stress. And that's a large issue of this. There's the socialization and there's a lot of stress. And then a lot of, people don't see the stress that these kids have to, be in that clique, that socialization. Um, and that affects them. Even though they may say it doesn't, everything's good at school. What'd you do at school? Nothing. Um, it does affect them. The amount of work can affect them. The change in from, elementary school to junior high to high school, it does have an effect.
Hmm.
Parents can help by, just keep talking to your kids, being a part of their lives. Um, don't just go for, oh, it was boring. Nothing happened today. You that's just a teenager.
Yeah, well, we've all been there.
We have.
Um, well, I thank you again for your time, Mark. It was great to meet you. If you have any final thoughts, anything I haven't asked that you wanted to express?
Um, as I just said, I just want parents, family, and the kids to know that, you know, we're out there for their best interest, for their safety, and law enforcement will do everything within their power. Every incident will be investigated that comes to our knowledge. Um, you know, many kids think this is a joke, may think they're trying to be funny or cool, um, but there's a consequence for the actions, and it's not a consequence you want. I mean, the easy part is, hey, you may get suspended or expelled. The bad part is you're now under a criminal investigation, um, and it's not what the families want. So and the families be involved in your kid's life. Um, it's becoming too problematic nowadays that social media is taking a large control of our kids' lives. Um, so parents still have to be involved and keep asking questions.
Well, thanks so much. And I really, yeah, I appreciate your time.
No, anytime. If there's
Yeah.
anything I can do for you, know how to get in touch with me.
All right. Let's keep in touch. And yeah, have a good evening.
You too.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Bye-bye.